you wrote about founders who stall because everything still runs through them, and that's kind of connected to whatever you shared just before. At what moment do you think owners' involvement stop helping and start slowing things more down, and where they need to be more cautious about this?
When you hire the first staff member, is typically when most owners start holding back the company. So, um, as I said, like you can manage a few people and get some more productivity and efficiency in there. I love growing companies and I love growing companies fast. And the way you do it is very simple. You hire generally good people and you give them ownership. Um, every single one of your listeners, yourself included, you're here today because someone somewhere trusted you, right?
Link building is one of those areas where founders stay stuck. Either way, you stop being the bottleneck in your own link building. Go to insert link and use promo code insert podcast 1 to get $50 added to your first deposit.
So all of these business owners, all these agency owners, at some point, someone trusted them. They might have had a job where someone was like, "Hey, figure this thing out." They might go straight from school or whatever into entrepreneurship, and someone was like, "Okay, I trust you enough to give you some money to try and do something for me." Right? So at some point, someone trusted you, and the problem is people don't pay that forward. The problem is you don't trust your staff. They're never going to grow and develop the way you want. And sometimes it can feel like, oh, but I want to go fast right now, and if I get someone else to give ownership to someone else, it might go a little bit slow. But this is one of those one step back and four step forward kind of thing, right? Because if you grow your staff, like you can do a lot of things as one person, and particularly now with AI, but you can do a lot more things if you bring in smart people around you and let them own stuff, right? That's the
I think
essence.
this trust component is really connected to also micromanagement part that I noticed that some leaders will do, where then that they bring some people, they really think they trust them. However, when it comes like more practical things, they really want to micromanage them to make sure that everything is done in the way that they think are right. How should when founders like notice that they're micromanaging and kind of losing this trust towards their employees, their staff members, what they need to do to control themselves actually?
Yeah, so micromanagement is generally not a conscious habit. So it is often tied to natural behaviors. So people micromanage, again, they don't do it out of bad intent. They do it because that is how they think. They think in details, and that happens a lot in SEO, right? There's a lot of very detail-oriented people in the field of SEO. So when you're very detail-oriented, you think in tasks, you think in steps, and you're trying to get people to repeat those steps and repeat those tasks. And the problem is, one, that's not how you learn and grow, and that's not how other people learn and grow, right? So because they're thinking in tasks, they're like, okay, what do I have to do? Oh, I have this task I need to do. Let me ask Liana if she can help. They're thinking about tasks, right? The right thing to do is take the step back, look at the code, and say, what are the areas we have? Okay, we have marketing. Am I the right person to own marketing right now? Yes or no? If not, who do we have in the team that needs to own it? And the way you own things is very simple. It's not a question of being responsible for task. It is a question of being responsible for an output. So let's use this amazing podcast as a great, great example. All right. So if your bosses are doing a great job, they have given you the responsibility to grow a podcast and basically build a podcast where you interview certain relevant people. And afterwards, you help grow the audience and the listeners and so on. And your goal should be in terms of how many people or how much visibility are you generating, right? So it's easy to say you should follow the process and publish one episode per week. but you can publish one episode per week and have 0 listeners, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't help the company very much. And this is the problem. When people are just focused on the process instead of the outcome, the people who are supposed to own it isn't tied into it, because no matter what they do, it's okay as long as they follow the process. But you want people to be tied in to an outcome, because if they're tied into an outcome, they start thinking, oh, what can we do better? How can we improve the process, right? So if you're a business owner and you have your staff never suggest how they can do things better, it's typically because you haven't given them ownership, right? So they don't feel they own the process. They don't feel they're responsible for the outcome, right? And
Yeah.
that is the biggest driver for micromanagement.
Just to be divert from the topic, actually, from my experience, I'm using right now Cloud a lot in my personal work. And then they released, maybe you heard, Cloud Skills, which is basically kind of putting your processes, each steps that you are doing, and automating them. And then that actually also helps me as in like a management role, in a leadership role, to have more focus on the outcomes. So I totally agree with you, especially with AI coming and supporting us as well in this. The outcome is becoming more and more important. And then also that is required from any employee or staff member as well. Like a kind of put the process, of course, follow the process, but think bigger than the process, think higher level and see bigger picture. So that's why it was an interesting correlation for me, because I'm right now working a lot with this skill section. I'm trying to put all these processes step by step after each other.